We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by Prize Picks. Week 6, it's the big show. How we doing, everybody? How we doing? How we doing? Doing another start sit Q&A directly following this show. Going to do it on a different link, so there is a link in the description for that if you have some start sits on the season long side of things. But always as, I guess, the starting point, we're going to go position by position through the DraftKings slate and then build the DraftKings lineup at the end. But hope everyone is doing well. Hope their week 5 was fantastic. We're really in the thick of it now. Week 6 is always like the time of the year where I think I tend to strive a little bit better just because we get a little bit more data behind these matchups. We actually get to kind of see what's sticky, what's not sticky, all that good stuff. And this is a good time of the year for DraftKings tournaments. This is a good time of the year for things to really start to kind of condense around what we know the best plays are, but also some undervalued plays that people may not be as excited about as they should be. So hope everyone is feeling good about this slate. I actually really like this slate. I think there's a few different directions you can go, but there's also some really good plays that probably should be higher owned than they're expected to be, was kind of my takeaway as I was working through it. How we doing in the chat? Justin's in here. Justin's been in here for at least an hour. Appreciate you, bro. Johnny Mack in here. Joe Milk, good fella. DJ Shane, what's up, DJ Shane? How we doing, my man? Toby Booth in here. J.R. Heineke, Salt River Hillbillies. How we going? How we doing? Renegade Knoll, we are back. We are back, my man. We are back. Go Brewers. Science 4. Yeah, I'd love to tell you guys that my sniffles are gone. I know I wasn't feeling a little bit, I guess I wasn't feeling myself last week. If anything, I feel worse, believe it or not. I think I've just had a cold and I've been like trying to tell myself it's allergies for like the past week. Not great, but hopefully I won't have to like run off of stream just to blow my nose. I think we're at a good spot there at least. It was way worse yesterday than today. Winners only chat. Love that. Luke's in here. What's up, Luke? Mitchell, Derek Mintz, Jeremy's in here. What's up, Jeremy? How's it going, man? Ex Achilles is in here. GMs. Yeah, we're ready for a winning day, David. I agree. Let's start as we always do with a poll. Who do we think today's highest owned player is going to be? Javonte Williams, Puka Nacua, Rashad White, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, or other. What do you guys think? If you're here for the first time, we do this every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Also, if you're a subscriber to the channel, you can get involved into the polls. Exclamation point vote, space the number in chat if you want to place your vote. This is a collaborative experience on Sunday mornings. I got to get an idea where you guys are at too. How are we feeling? Is this a good slate for single entry? I'm a big fan of small field single entry tournaments in general, my man. But yeah, I think this is one of these slates where there are some specific games I think we can stack up a little bit. So I think it's a really nice small field slate also. What's up, Mikey boy? How we doing? What are we feeling? Just a small thank you for your prop picks. Thanks for that, man. I appreciate that. I missed that earlier, Renegade. Thank you so much for that, man. Very nice. It's nice to have some positivity in the chat over the props. I try and stay away from the comment section for the props. You could hit at an 85% clip and the comments would still let you know that you're the worst ever. I guess if there's any I guess if it matters to you guys at all, every video that goes out, I'm playing my own American dollars behind those picks as well. So when they don't hit, it's not that fun. When they do hit, it's very fun. I want to be there with you guys along the way, right? Highest owned player today. We're getting some Puka love. Okay, fair. Has there been anyone that's been more consistent this year at wide receiver? I don't know. Probably not. Puka's been an absolute stud. Jackson Smith and Jigba, no votes for him, but he's on an absolute historic pace from a run or routes per yards per route run perspective. Words are hard. Anyone remember my Monty touchdown pass? Oh yeah, I did. I do remember that, Derek. The Monty touchdown pass call out. Good for you, man. Is there a way to even bet that? Passing touchdown prop for a running back? That's kind of fun. Multiple touchdowns for him. He gets there. I honestly forget what we even played on this stream. After like a week goes by, it feels like a month. So I'm going to go check. I don't know if we cashed on our team that we built last week. Let's see. Let's see. Try and remember. Oh, this is the Justin Fields team. Yeah, we had Jets Cowboys last week. So we did not cash. Honestly, last week ended up being a pretty high scoring week in general. It was kind of nice to get some of the Cincinnati stuff right. We had T. Higgins on this team at 1%, gets his touchdown. You like that? You just like really needed to have the absolute explosion. Like we had JT on both of these teams and still didn't cash, which is crazy. You really needed like you needed JSN, Negbuka, Waddle. Like there was a lot of stuff. Rico Dowdle with 35. If you didn't have Rico Dowdle, you weren't winning anything. You guys think Dowdle is going to be that popular this week? Revenge game? That could be. He could have probably made this bowl. How do we feel about Drake May? Drake May is a great play today, my man. We'll get to quarterback here shortly, but I agree. What's considered small field single entry? I would say small field is anything like 250 or less for me. So like pretty small. I would say like mid size is like 1,000 to 5K, and anything over 5K, I'm playing like a large field tournament. All the money is up top in these tourneys, right? I enjoy small field though. I think the small field stuff's really fun. You can make more like meaningful like leverage plays, I feel like, with the ownership differences. This week's a lot better pricing wise, need to be sharper. Yeah, it does feel a little bit tighter, but there's still like some pretty decent options to pay down for, which kind of frees some things up a little bit. We'll get there. Javante leading the way right now in this poll. Interesting. Interesting. Everyone's come full circle on Javante. Anybody scared about the winds and rain coming from these afternoon games? We do have some weather to talk about today, friends. I guess moral of the story is I think that more often than not, we're worried about wind. We're more worried about wind than worried about rain. So I think the games that we're looking at the most, Dallas at Carolina, LA Rams at Baltimore, they're pretty similar. There's going to be some light rain. The winds, I guess, are going to be around 15 mile per hour sustained. So that's right at the threshold. We're going to see some gusts for sure in the Rams Baltimore game, around 30 miles per hour. So that does matter a little bit for like longer field goals, deeper throws. But I honestly don't think that either of these are in a crazy bad spot right now. I think if anything, we kind of overreact to this stuff, especially this time of year. 35 mile per hour is nuts. Yeah, the gusts are going to affect things, but yeah, it's not great. It's not great, but also like I think we've seen a lot worse. So maybe if you're trying to back into some Stafford stuff that affects it a little bit, this Dallas Carolina game maybe ends up being a little bit more gross. I could see it. If Quentin Johnson is out, do you stack up the Chargers? Yeah, let's talk about news quickly. See what I've missed. Lamar Jackson hopeful to return or after the team's Week 7 bye. That's what we were hoping for. Reports the Bengals checked in on Derek Carr before trading for Joe Flacco. Interesting. Geno Smith, no serious discussions about benching him so far. Brock Bowers unlikely to play in Week 7. We need that. I'm not seeing anything crazy here. There's a chance that Brock Purdy can return next week. Mac Jones expected to play. Juwan Jennings expected to play. I feel like he's just been banged up the entire year. Zay Flowers expected to play, that shoulder injury he's been battling through. Quentin Johnston, as we were just talking about in the chat, that hamstring injury, he is trending towards missing Week 6 against the Dolphins. That ruins a few of my videos from earlier in the week, so that's not fun. Pretty good spot for Quentin Johnston on the outside this week too. Cardinals are preparing for Jacoby Brissett to start in Week 6 against the Colts. Kyler Murray looking like he's trending towards being out. Alvin Kamara ankle expected to play in Week 6 against the Patriots. Jalen Coker out against the Cowboys. Dalton Kincaid oblique questionable. I think that is probably not a huge deal. I don't see anything crazy. Let me know if you guys see anything crazy that pops up throughout this morning. The Quentin Johnson stuff is interesting though. Mac is barely on his he's been balling though. We probably should give Mac Jones a little more respect. I know I probably should. Flexing with the Fletchers. Thanks for subscribing, man. Jenny's going to play. Yes. Quentin Johnson's out. Do you stack up the Chargers? It does narrow things a little bit, which is always good. Let's keep working through some polls here. Javonte Williams is the highest owned player for you guys so far. Interesting. Let's talk quarterback, though. Top quarterback play today. Price considered on DraftKings: Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, or other. What do we like at quarterback today, friends? Favorite quarterback plays. So Stafford going to be affected a little bit, I'd imagine, by that rain. We got Dak as well, more impacted by the gusts of wind in this game that we're going to be expecting. What do we got here for quarterback, friends? I'm pretty narrow at quarterback this week, which always scares me, but it feels like a pretty easy week to pay down at quarterback. Pretty easy week to pay down. What do you guys think, though? Interesting week, though. Like, no Jalen Hurts to pay up for, no Mahomes, no Josh Allen. Not a lot of like the highest of highest end QBs to pay up for. Jaden Daniels not on the slate. Someday, folks will put respect on Baker's name. I love Baker Mayfield. I think he's one of the most fun people to watch. Riding Darnold again. Darnold is probably someone who I should probably apologize to after the offseason. I thought that with this offensive line being pretty mediocre, not great, that he would really struggle while he didn't have enough time. But it seems like his time in Minnesota, he's really kind of sped up his processing, and he's been great. JSN helps being one of the best wide receivers in the entire league to throw to. But yeah, I'm I'm with you. Darnold has been very good. I will give him that. His yards per attempt is off the charts right now. And that's one of the big indicators that I look at. A couple people in the chat missing their votes just because they're putting spaces in between. Just be careful. There's plenty of people doing it right in the chat. Exclamation point vote, space the number. Drake May leading the way. Yeah, 5,900 Drake May. He's been really good this year. Obviously, one of the sleepers that worked out for sure. He's going to be obviously super active on the ground, and playing in a dome this week is nice in New Orleans. And really, the big thing I think is Stephon Diggs and him just kind of elevating into like a true wide receiver one on this offense. I think has been super helpful. He's looked great. Obviously, last week at that revenge game might help his juice a little bit. We'll see if he can maintain, basically, is what we're looking at for Stephon Diggs. But Drake May at 5,900 in a great matchup in the dome is really, really solid. I think he probably would be my lean, but if you wanted to save 800, you could go down to Trevor Lawrence. 10 carries last week, which was interesting. That Seattle defense just got torched by the Bucs last week. Liam Cohen's offense has been pretty good the last couple weeks, right? I think that Lawrence is probably another solid bet for a good performance, and it's a good matchup. We know where the ball is going, all of those things. It's pretty strong. It's pretty strong. What else we got in here? T-Law Truther from Derek. Interesting. T-Mac breakout week. Yeah, I took him for a touchdown again, guys. I think Tedero McMillan is going to score his first career touchdown today. You would think against Dallas, right? They just can't defend wide receiver ones, is the narrative there to hold on to. Yeah. So you guys are on Baker over Drake May and Trevor Lawrence. Interesting. Does that have like some to do with the weather that we have going on? Is that narrowing the quarterback field a little bit? 6,600 Baker Mayfield. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It just feels like if you need a little bit of the salary, which I feel like we do to get up to some of these running backs we want to play, it is nice to kind of get that discount with Trevor Lawrence or Drake May. But I get it. We have some pretty easy guys to pair with them as well. So I get it. Higher team total. That's always a fair tiebreaker, I think, for quarterback. Ultimately, we need these guys to score touchdowns similar to tight end. I think that's fair. Massive team total for Jordan Love at 6,200. The problem with Jordan Love is who do you pair him with because it's so spread out there. They're definitely going to score some points against Cincinnati. And I think a lot of people are going to be on Josh Jacobs in that game. But it is a little bit more spread out from a stacking perspective. Trevor's only big points game was last week with 2 rushing TDs. I just don't see him repeating that. I think that's fair. Tucker Kraft is a great play this week. I'm with you. Really strong matchup for tight ends since he's been given up to everyone, but especially tight ends. Tucker Kraft is, I think if he ends up being, if this ownership holds for him at about 10%, I think he becomes like one of the better tournament options for sure. Love me some Tucker Kraft this week. Took a anytime touchdown on him. I don't want Lawrence as one of the highest owned QBs. I think that's fair too. Anytime these guys, like, we have all this confidence in the world about the matchup and the price and all of that, they're going to be super chalky. But they have let us down many times. I feel you. We'll keep talking about quarterback. Let's keep this moving because I think there's a lot to go through. I think we need to start with running back though. Best running back play. Price considered: Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs, Ashton Genty, Kyron Williams, or other. Running back is absolutely loaded this week. Absolutely loaded. Who do we think is the best play, price considered, though? Best play, price considered today. It does feel like another 3 running back week to me. These games in general, like, I think that, yeah, we're worried a little bit about the win, but Dallas and Carolina should have a ton of plays. I do like this New England and New Orleans game for plays as well. And for pace, I guess that's another item of the Baker Mayfield decision that makes sense is San Francisco and Tampa Bay. We're going to see a lot of plays, a lot of pace in that game as well. A couple of the ones that I'm worried about. Someone mentioned the Chargers stacking them up. I think that game's going to be kind of slow against Miami. Tennessee and Las Vegas. That's like one of the bigger things I'm worried about also with Ashton Genty and how poor this offensive line and how poor Geno Smith has been. So there's some concerns. And then Cleveland's playing a little bit slower as well. The 10 a.m. games are all about which one stays competitive. That's fair. East 10 in the chat, just letting you know, my man, you got to put a space in between your vote for it to register correctly. Same with you, Matthew. We're almost there. Another JT week. Yeah, is it going to be another? Have my settings at 85% running back flex. Yeah. JT, another 3 touchdown performance, maybe not, but it is another great spot for him. He's sitting at around 20% ownership roughly, which seems fair. Rico Dowdle leading the way. Yeah, obviously he goes completely nuts last week, over 200 yards. Chuba Hubbard absent made a lot of difference, obviously, but now it's a revenge game against this Dallas defense who can't really stop anyone. So fresh off of that career game, I think Dowdle has really big upside again, and his price hasn't moved up near enough, right? So he's going to be a core piece. I'm with you there. Core piece. Christian McCaffrey still getting a ton of love. Yeah, I mean, the workload is really what we're looking for here, right? 8,400 still feels underpriced for him. They're going to get Juwan Jennings back. George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall still not in. So I think it's just really the target share that we're going to get in addition to the rushing. It's really hard to get away from CMC at 8,400 because I think we have the salary to get there. Especially since this offense has been at least serviceable with Mac Jones. I'm not worried about Christian McCaffrey at all. He's a great play. Permission to play Christian McCaffrey. For small single entry tournaments, is it better to game stack or take pieces of chalk and get different in a couple spots? I love game stacking in small field personally, and then trying to just at least have some unique pieces in there, whether it's in the game stack or whether it's kind of the one-offs around it. I think my favorite structure typically in the small field stuff is to still play some of the best plays. So maybe it's one of the running backs from a different game, whatever, and then just trying to make one big bet on a game to go crazy. And then if you hit on that game, hopefully you capture all the touchdowns. But it's really hard to fade all of these running back plays and still get all of the guys in that you want and still have the projection look okay. London game getting ready to kick off. I always forget about these London games. There's been more. I feel like there's been more of them this year. Am I crazy? There's been one like every week. When will Tampa Bay unleash Sean Tucker? Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, my man. I think it's going to be another Rashad White game. SG, new subscriber. What's up, my man? How we doing? The other guy that I think we talked about quickly earlier, Javonte Williams at 6,400. Again, another one of those guys that I was definitely wrong about in the offseason. The workload in general has been really good, but also the efficiency, right, has been great. Really strong matchup. This Carolina defense, I feel like, hasn't been able to stop running backs for years at this point. And now it's really, with Sanders out, it's really the Javonte Williams show in this backfield. So I'm with you. Not a lot of challenges there for touches, and it's a really strong matchup. Javonte at 6,400, another guy that just feels way too cheap. Rico Dowdle, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, like all of those guys 6,400 and down. You can make some really nice lineups with just those three guys starting. But I think that might be a popular path. There'll be some people that'll put CMC in there. Kyron going off. I just struggle with Kyron for some reason. I have another anytime touchdown on him, so it's not like I'm bearish by any means. He just never feels as explosive to me as some of these other guys. C-Mac going to get lots of receptions again. Totally. Practice squad QB in there. Mac can't scramble, and they may end up with a practice squad QB in there. Is Mac's going to play, though? Mac's going to play. Josh Jacobs, that's a touchdown bet, I think. I think he's still probably one of, if not the most likely guy to score a touchdown today. So really like Josh Jacobs in that game. Really high total. There's going to be plenty of touchdowns to go around. I think that as I'm looking through like what the leverage looks like, to me, it's still paying up for like Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane. Taylor at like 20% just feels low given the ceiling. Derrick Henry again, it's been really tough just because we played Derrick Henry because of game script and basically what Lamar uh, allows him to do with seeing less stacked boxes. Without Lamar in there, Derrick Henry really has a tougher run out. I played him on some of my main teams last week and got burned, obviously. So maybe I have some recency bias there. But he scored a touchdown basically just to salvage. But 15 attempts for 33 yards is really scary to me, especially in that game that I think is going to be a little bit slower paced. I think I'd rather just pay the extra amount and get to Achane if you're trying to play running back in that game. It's really tough. It's really tough. Kenneth Walker at 6,100. No one's going to play him. Seems like a decent leverage option. We got more bots in the chat. They must just like get people for some reason on these like NFL streaming, whatever things. It's crazy. It does help to have like the subscribe to be able to talk in the chat, but every now and then we still get crazy bots going. I try and block them as fast as I can. Okay, let's keep this thing moving because wide receiver, I think, again, is going to be kind of where a lot of the main decision points are. But I'm curious what you guys think about this. Top elite wide receiver play today. Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. New quarterback for Jamar Chase. Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Puka has been a tough decision all year, though. So I'm curious what you guys think for this week. Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Puka Nacua probably the front runner for Offensive Player of the Year already. This Ravens defense can't stop anyone. So is the play here just to put as many Rams in our lineup as possible? Or are we worried about the wind? Yeah, if you guys are just trickling in, two games I'm the most worried about from a weather perspective, not just because of the rain, but because the wind does look like it's picking up a little bit. Dallas at Carolina, Rams at Ravens. Looks like we're going to get 15 mph sustained in both, but we're going to get some gusts up to 30 miles per hour, which is not good. So downfield stuff, field goal stuff, not great. The 15 mph threshold sustained is kind of what we're looking at typically anyways. But yeah, if you're going to get that type of gust in the picture as well, it's going to really hurt the downfield passing. Puka Nakua, Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Not one. We have one vote for Jamar Chase. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, ended up with a really kind of live team at one point with Jamar Chase last week, which was nice. You're not getting any discount in price with him, though. The guys that feel like the best leverage at wide receiver, we're not going to talk about him as much in like the next poll either as well. I think Jamar Chase you can put in that bucket, probably about 5% ownership. Both these Cincy guys, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. If we see Devontae Adams ownership completely tank because of this win stuff, I might have a little interest there. It's such a great matchup for him against Baltimore. But the downfield stuff has kind of been what he's been getting anyways, so it might be a little bit tougher with the wind, but still think he's a really solid touchdown bet in this game as well. Calvin Ridley at 4,900. Haven't heard a lot of people talk about him, but he had an absolutely fantastic game last week. 10 targets, 131 yards, and no one wants to play him this week. I think Calvin Ridley's kind of interesting, personally. Zay Flowers with no Lamar. No one's going to play him. Jerry Jeudy at 4,500. No one's going to play Jerry Jeudy. There's plenty of guys here. Rain, not much to worry about, but wind, totally agree. Give me JSN with the bad weather game for Puka. I think that's fair. Volume for Puka is superior. It's a tough decision, honestly. I think it's hard between those two guys. Puka's 8,700. JSN 7,600. So you obviously save a lot of money by going down to JSN. Jamar for late swap is a great point. Yeah, the late swap stuff, very important. We'll get to that in a second. We're basically split down the middle with Puka and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Interesting. Okay. Good matchup for Jackson Smith and Jigba as well, playing on the outside in that spot. Jacksonville's really struggled to defend wide receiver ones this year, so I have some interest there. This is where the week's going to be one loss, per usual. Top non-elite wide receiver play, price considered. We were all over the crab last week. I'm curious what you guys think about this week. Chris Olave, Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen, Tedero McMillan, Tez Johnson. We're going to save some cash. Stephon Diggs, Emeka Egbuka, or other. This is a tough poll. This is especially tough this week. Very tough. If we're looking at late swap, so I would say the chalk in the beginning of the day that we need to keep an eye on. The highest owned players, Puka Nakua, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave at wide receiver, but then also Rico Dowdle, Javonte Williams. All of those guys are already going to have played. We'll have Drake May information. We'll have Trevor Lawrence information. So most of the chalk is in the morning. But if we need some late swap options, we're looking at Tennessee, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Cincy at Green Bay. So the leverage that I'm kind of looking, I guess the chalk that you could be moving off of, Rashad White, Christian McCaffrey, Emeka Egbuka, there's going to be plenty of salary there. Ted Johnson at 3,200 is going to be, I think, relatively chalky at 3,200 just because you're going to be able to pay up for a lot more if you get him in your lineup. But the leverage, I think, is probably, I mentioned Calvin Ridley. It's probably the Cincy guys, so I totally agree with you guys that Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they feel like the guys that we should be pivoting into if we have some struggling teams. I also think that getting into Josh Jacobs at 7,300, if he ends up being like 15%, and we're wrong, I have him at about 22, I think he ends up being a really nice leverage spot. Ashton Genty, 6,900 is going to be a priority for me. We didn't talk about him a ton yet, but Ashton Genty at 6,900 I think is very strong against Tennessee, who's really struggled to defend running backs in the passing game and on the ground all year. So I have some Ashton Genty touchdown stuff, but I also have him total yards today in the props market. Shout out Prize Picks, by the way. They've continued to keep this this going with the, I guess you play $5, get $50 in bonus picks instantly. So if you guys use code HOLKALIVE on Prize Picks, check it out. I don't know how long these promos are going to last. We usually get the best promos from like weeks 1 to week 6 or so I wouldn't be surprised if they change it soon. Free Square as well. I think they have a Travis Kelce over 1 yard this week. Link in the description for that. Holka Live. So I need to know you came from the live stream if you do sign up. But we do have a lot of Ashton Genty stuff in the videos this week. Stephon Diggs getting a ton of love as the #1 wide receiver play. Okay. 5,800. He just seems way too cheap. FanDuel was the one where he seems like a lock at 5,900. Back-to-back games with a 39% target share. We love to see that. He's obviously been getting there from a yardage perspective as well. He hasn't scored yet, but yeah, just peppered with targets. He's Drake May's guy. And you guys know how I feel about Stephon Diggs. So we were all over him last week, which was good. This week, another great spot for him. Yeah, I'm with you guys. Ted McMillan, I mean, no one gives up more touchdowns to wide receiver ones than Dallas. So that one makes a ton of sense. Tez Johnson, he's kind of like that Tank Dell type of wide receiver, very small, but runs great routes, very cheap is the main thing there. Emeka Egbuka, he's going to continue to do his thing in this game. We've been on him all year. Chris Olave, you know what you're getting. Ton of targets, not a ton of efficiency. Lad McConkey getting a little bit of bump if we get Quentin Johnston out. I think that makes total sense. Blog Mamba, what's up, my man? How we doing? As a Pats fan, I have trouble playing anyone on the Pats inconsistent week to week for a long time now. I think you have some hope. The Patriots are kind of fun this year. If you're just trickling in, kind of what we talked about so far, quarterback, I think it feels like a week to pay down for someone like Drake May or Trevor Lawrence to me. Running back feels pretty condensed. Some great plays. You're either paying all the way up for Christian McCaffrey and then one of these two guys, Rashad White, Dowdle, Javonte Williams, kind of in that 65 to 5,500 range. Very strong. If you're paying up for a little bit more upside, maybe Jacobs, Genty, those are the guys we like at running back. Wide receiver, probably one of Puka Nacua and JSN. And then it's probably someone on this poll or multiple guys on this poll. I like Chris Olave a little bit more than you guys, I think. Only one vote for him, but in the dome, I think he makes a ton of sense. Easy bring back on the other side of your Patriots stacks. Taysom Hill game, maybe. Maybe. Could be. Dyke and Golden long shot plays. Nice. Okay. Golden feels like the one that could get there. I could get behind that. Dyke at 3K. Taysom Hill sleeper week. We all just have so many scars from Taysom Hill just ruining days for us. You can't play him. Can you play him as tight end on FanDuel? Or do we got to play him at quarterback now? One of my best slates ever was a Taysom Hill tight end slate. You can play him at tight end. He's 5K. I can maybe get behind that. Olave, great bring back. Yes, agreed. Yeah, Hunter Henry. Actually, it feels like a really strong tight end week, too. We haven't talked about tight end yet, but as I was kind of going through, even the anytime touchdown video, if you guys watch that, it's only like 9 minutes this week. There's a ton of really strong matchups for tight ends to score touchdowns this week, which is crazy because we never really say that. We never really say that. No Keenan Allen love. If we get no Quentin Johnston, more volume to McConkey and Keenan Allen, I have some interest there. I'm a little bit more worried about pace than anything. But yeah, I think that makes some sense. One of the things that I'm always focused on too with efficiency, so we're talking about the passing games, wide receivers, quarterbacks. We don't just want volume. It's not like running back where we just need volume to perform. We need efficiency. So what limits efficiency a lot of times is pressure. So I look a lot more at the D-line versus O-line stuff than most people do. I'm a little bit worried about Flacco just because this Bengals offensive line has been terrible. And the Packers D-line, obviously really strong. Top 10 for sure. Really worried about the Ravens offensive line versus this Rams D-line, who's been really good as well. Steelers D-line versus the Browns. Those are like the ones that I'm worried a little bit about. This Chargers offensive line's been really bad, but the Dolphins haven't brought as much pressure. They haven't had as much success bringing pressure. So I'm not as worried about that one. And then, yeah, this Raiders offensive line has really hurt Ashton Genty and his ceiling, but also really, really hurt Geno Smith, who's been probably one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Flowers still questionable. Yep. I don't think the Chargers even want to run the ball this week. That's the thing. Yeah, if they can't run the ball, there could be some volume there just for that reason. Is Bryce Young a decent GPP option at only 4,800? Yeah, I've actually looked at some game stacks in that, like the other side of it, playing the Carolina stuff. I don't mind it. Yeah. Getting like some Ted McMillan stuff in there. It's harder to like fully stack it up, I think. Maybe better for like one-offs. But yeah, I don't mind it. He was so good to end last year, and he's been so bad to start this year. It's just a really tough situation. But if there's a get right spot, it's Dallas. Tight spread too, only 3 points. Hopefully that one's back and forth a little bit. One of the highest totals of the week. I think it is the highest total left. Yeah, Dallas and Carolina is the highest total left. Green Bay is the highest team total. But yeah, Seattle, Jacksonville, high total there as well. Really just worried about the wind in Dallas, Carolina, and the Rams in Baltimore. And you guys know me, I try and downplay the stuff with weather typically. But if we're going to see pretty high gusts of wind up to 30 miles per hour, 15 sustained, that's enough for me to play less of those games for sure. For sure. Let's talk about tight end. I'm curious what you guys think about tight end this week. Because I think there's going to be some touchdowns. Top tight end play: Hunter Long, Michael Mayer, Trey McBride, Tucker Kraft, Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson's been our guy this year. Tyler Warren or other. Top tight end play today. What do you guys think? Are we paying up for Trey McBride? Are we still trying to get some Ferguson in there? All of these guys might score a touchdown today. I think I took a Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, Hunter Henry. I have a bunch of tight end touchdown stuff out there this week. Darren Waller. Darren Waller is 6K on FanDuel. Wow. Hunter Long, 2,500, right? That's what we're looking at against Seattle. Get access to that game. Perfect guy to go through game stacks. Does he have a ton of upside? No. Michael Mayer at 3,100 seems a little stronger to me with no Brock Bowers today. He does have hands like feet. We know that. I should mix in the hands like feet reference once a stream. It's like one of my favorite quotes of all time. Hands like feet. Can you just picture him out there? This guy's cleats on his hands, can't catch a ball. With Long, you can get the top 3 running backs. True. Yeah, 3,100 on DraftKings for Michael Mayer is reasonable for sure. But like trying to just hope that Geno Smith is good, a little bit scary. Also, what we really want at tight end is these high team totals because we need touchdowns, right? So that's the reason that Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren, part of the reason that they're projecting so well. Jake Ferguson in that boat as well. Hunter Henry, I wish he was like a little bit cheaper. Wish he was a little bit cheaper. But like a lot of these cheaper guys, the team totals are so low. Hunter Long, Juwan Johnson, Michael Mayer, all of these have like a 23 or less point total, which isn't ideal. Not ideal. Darren Waller, 4K on DraftKings now. They really scaled him up. Definitely a Genty game. I agree. If Genty's ownership holds, he might be one of my favorite tournament plays of the entire week. Seems really strong. At 6,900, 13%. Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft. I love both those guys this week. Both have phenomenal matchups. Both have really strong touchdown matchups as well, which is what we want. Higher totals, all of those things. So I'm with you guys on those. You think Cincinnati improves with Flacco? Yeah, I think that the floor maybe comes up a little bit. I think the floor comes up for T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. I don't think he's going to be some savior. I think there's a lot. There's more issues in Cincinnati than just quarterback right now. Genty over White and Dowdle. I mean, White and Dowdle from a price perspective, I would imagine, still going to look a little bit stronger. But I think Genty has a lot higher ceiling than we were talking about probably a couple weeks ago with like how much more they've been using him in the passing game. Juwan Johnson targets will go down with Taysom Hill back. I think that's fair. He did have some, I think he had some red zone targets last week, though, even with Taysom there. Am I crazy? Juwan Johnson, 3,300. Nice price tag. 4 targets last week. He did have a red zone target, but yeah, not a lot of juice there. I'm with you. If you guys have start sit questions, saw a couple of those earlier in the chat too. Going to be doing a second stream today. Probably start it in about 20 minutes or so. There's a link in the description for that one. I'm going to start doing a different link for it. I just think it's easier, even though it's nice to have the momentum of having all you guys in here. I think getting the start sit questions flowing makes more sense as a totally different event. And then people can kind of either come in here for the DraftKings stuff after we're done being live, or come in here for the start sit fantasy question, rest of season talk, chatter on a different event. I like Ferguson, just don't like playing over 5K for a tight end. Toby, you've been around for a long time. I'm with you. I don't like paying up a tight end either. I'm with you. All right, let's get to my favorite poll of the entire week. If you haven't voted in a poll yet, hit subscribe. And this is the poll that I need your help on, because this is what lineup we're going to build today. Favorite game stack: Dallas at Carolina, and this does have the team total or the total on it as well. Seattle at Jacksonville, San Francisco at Tampa Bay, Arizona at Indy, New England at New Orleans, Cincy at Green Bay, LA at Baltimore, LA Chargers at Miami. What's our favorite game stack today? And we're going to build this with real American dollars shortly. That much I promise you. That much I promise you. The problem is, since he doesn't have Jameis, that would have been fun, huh? Is there a human on the planet that's having more fun than Jameis Winston? What a guy. Thoughts on defense? Yeah, we can quick recap some stuff. Defense, I don't normally talk about it a ton, but I ideally still just want to get a cheaper defense when I can. So, like, Cleveland at 2,500 seems strong to me. I think if you wanted to play the Titans at 2,400 against Geno Smith, that's also solid. Those are the ones that I'm kind of looking at. If you're paying up, I think Green Bay is by far the best projection. 3,700 though, definitely not cheap. And then if you want to pay like 3,200, we've just been playing defenses against Tennessee all year. I think that the Raiders defense is interesting also. Those are kind of the ones I've zoned in on so far. Quarterback, I think it's paying down for Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, something like that, unless we're backing into a different game stack. Running back feels really straightforward. Probably one of Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor, with probably two of Rashad White, Rico Dowdle, or Javonte Williams. That's probably the order that I would have those guys in. Wide receiver, Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith and Jigba project better than anyone by a lot. And then we kind of have this just mash of McConkey, Keenan Allen, Chris Olave, guys that we know are going to get targets. Stephon Diggs. I think Ted McMillan scores his first touchdown today. If I keep saying that, eventually I'll be right. It is a great matchup, though, against Dallas, obviously. And then Tez Johnson just opens up a ton on your roster. If you're willing to play Tez Johnson and a cheaper tight end, a cheaper quarterback, you can basically do whatever you want at wide receiver and running back, which is nice. Favorite game stack today, 24 votes. We got 150 people here live. Let's try and get this closer to 50, because this is what we're going to spend time on the next little bit. Dallas at Carolina, Seattle at Jacksonville, San Francisco at Tampa Bay. What are we stacking up here? And if we're looking at weather, Dallas at Carolina, we got some wind, 15 mile per hour plus, sustained, gusts to 30. Rams and Baltimore, similar. Jameis, what a guy. What do we got here? What are we feeling? Are we just going to play all the Dallas, Carolina? Is that the play? Dak has been great. Without CD, with how this offense has played in general, without CD, it's been pretty impressive. Biggest potential bust today. Interesting. Biggest potential bust today. Yeah, I mean, there's some tough matchups here that I've been working through. Like, I think if you're trying to find busts, starting with some of those games where the wind has been a factor, I think makes sense. Biggest potential bust. I think, like, if we're looking at these Chargers guys, I think they're going to be relatively popular at 57, 5,600. I think there's a chance that that game overall just isn't that exciting. I think if you're trying to find the best plays in Cincinnati, Green Bay, that might be tough as well. I could see that game being a little bit less appealing. It's possible. Tennessee and Las Vegas. I'll say this. I think that the Raiders outside of Ashton Genty might be some of the tougher plays to make today. Like if we're just backing into some of these cheaper tight ends, I get it from a price perspective, but that the amount of points that are going to be scored from the Raiders today, I think, is not going to be that fantastic. So if we get Ashton Genty in the box for one, that really limits what you can do with like even the Michael Mayer at 3,100 stuff. Biggest bust is tough though because it's all relative to ownership and the texture of like the rest of your lineup. So like I'm always down to play some of these guys that have high ceilings but a lower, I guess, likelihood of going off if it fits the context of the rest of my roster, if that makes sense. We got a redraft question in here. What's up, John? Thank you for that, my man. Drop Vidal for Burden. Vidal for Burden. Let me check my season. Yeah, I think honestly I prefer Burden between those two. I don't have a lot of hope for the Chargers running backs right now because I don't think we know exactly what that split's gonna be like. So yeah, I think that Burden is still someone that could emerge. They start to move away from DJ Moore a little bit, get him a little bit more involved. I think he's the guy rest of the season you want of those two. Took a lot of Jacoby Myers my best ball tourneys. Gino's killing me. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I have a lot of Jacoby Myers as well. Appreciate you, Sam. Thanks for being here, man. Just being here, more than enough. Got to be Rams without price. The stacks are. Could be. Yeah. I liked Devontae Adams a lot more before this win stuff. That's for sure. We got a really close poll here, though. It sounds like Dallas, Carolina could be San Francisco, Tampa Bay. But let's try and get a few more votes. 27% of you think Dallas at Carolina for the favorite game stack today. Chargers offensive line is a mess. Exactly. If those fail, just start cooking Sunday. Yeah, that's fair. The bye weeks are tough. We start getting weather in the mix. Like that's when it becomes like, can we just pick the top game of the week to go off and try and build it in a smart way? Can be a good direction to go in tournaments. San Francisco, Tampa Bay. I'm going to let this go to 35 votes. So you guys got about 4 votes until I close this thing. San Francisco, Tampa Bay is slightly beating Dallas and Carolina right now, currently. Just play the Brewers. I haven't followed baseball as closely this year as in years past. Dominic, thank you for that super chat, my man. Appreciate you. It's good to see your username in here, man. You've been with us for a long time. I appreciate the super chat, bro. That's very, very unnecessary, but very nice. Green Bay so low. Yeah, it's like, who do we stack with them though? Dak getting too much love in the media, he'll start choking again. Who's my MLB team? I'm from Arizona originally, so I've always had a soft spot for the Diamondbacks because it was the only team that won a championship my whole childhood. That Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling year when they beat the Yankees, that was pretty cool. But I live in Minnesota now, so I would guess I would root for the Twins. They're just a really hard team to root for when they traded away all of their good players this year. So they were like one of the worst teams in the league, right? All right. One more vote, but I don't think Dallas can close the gap. So we are going to go with San Francisco and Tampa Bay today for this game stack. San Francisco, Tampa Bay. Baker or Mac? Who do we want at quarterback on this main team, this main roster for real American dollars? Baker or Mac Jones today? Baker or Mac Jones? Will you guys surprise me? Will you guys surprise me today? So now we don't have to worry about weather, which is kind of nice. Kind of nice. We got, if we want to just like throw in a cheap defense to start, let's throw Cleveland in at 2,500. We can always pivot if we need to. Baker, 13 votes so far. So pretty dramatically Baker here. So I think we can go ahead and assume this can be a Baker stack. So if we're playing Baker, I think the next question becomes, should we play Rachaad White with this team? Baker with Rachaad White. In the past, we have seen Rachaad White super active in the passing game, 4 targets last week, 5 the week before. So my answer is yes. Rachaad White at 6K. And then the question becomes, how many wide receivers do we want to play? Do we want to get Egbuka in there? Do we want to get some salary relief as well? Get Tez in there? I could see it. I think we could probably play both if we really want to. If we do that, we probably have a lot of salary to work with. But I don't hate it. So if we started with the full onslaught, Baker onslaught, we get Egbuka in there, we get Tez in there, and we have Rachaad White in there. We can probably do a lot with this team right now. What do we want to do on the other side of this? We want to try and figure out a way to get CMC in here. What do you guys think? McCaffrey and Bourne on the run back. Have to play Egbuka, I agree. We could play a Jake Tongs at tight end on the other side. We could play McCaffrey on the other side. We're going to force in Egbuka, though. I like it. I'm piecing together, if we do play CMC on this team, does that really limit what we can do in the flex? Probably. It's hard to get CMC on this roster. It's hard to get CMC on this roster. If we play CMC, we have to go really cheap the rest of the way. Right? Egbuka at like this price point hurts a little bit. I think we can do it though. Let's get McCaffrey in there. 5,300 the rest of the way. As long as we go cheap at tight end, we should be okay. We should be okay. So we have McCaffrey, Rachaad White in there. Can we play? I think the question becomes, can we play Rico Dowdle on this team? He's so cheap that I think he still probably could be on this team, but then we're looking at like a pretty chalky team overall. But let's see like what we're at if we throw Dowdle in there. So Baker, Egbuka, and Tez. Tez still might hold at like 10 to 15%. We'll see. With Rachaad White, very chalky. But then we got McCaffrey in there, also very chalky. Rico Dowdle, massively chalky. So like I think we got to go kind of off the board with the rest of this. What's Tech going to be? Chalky, not super chalky, but still good. I don't know if we can get Ted on this team with Rico on the other side. We could, I suppose. This just feels a little bit too chalky to me. What do you guys think? Is there a Dallas guy that we really like for the other side of this? What do you guys think? Don't hate ETN. Good matchup in the passing game. I doubt many will stack this game specifically. You think so? Jennings is supposed to be playing, yeah. Otten at tight end instead of Tez. That could be. That could be decent. I would rather just, yeah, add to this stack probably. So if we're going to have to go cheap at tight end anyway, I think I'd rather just play Tongs. It's a pretty good matchup as well. Tampa Bay struggled to defend tight ends. So then that leaves us with 6,600 to play with. So we can still get probably a decent option here. Like we could get Tet just to like kind of stack up a little bit of this Dallas Carolina situation. Just Tet and Dowdle together, I think is interesting. Again, like just playing 2 guys against Dallas, I think there's worse things you could do. And then you could just upgrade defense here if you wanted. 3,100 at defense. Doesn't quite get you to Raiders. We need 100 more to get to Raiders. That's a bummer. We just missed Raiders. New England defense, somewhat interesting. Is anyone going to play Rams defense today? They're pretty expensive. We'd have to move some stuff around to get there. Steelers defense today, also expensive. Packers, obviously expensive. Dolphins defense, they've got to be cheap, right? 2,200 for Dolphins. Yeah, we can't quite get to. We can get to Tennessee though. 24. We're kind of in this weird no man's land right now at wide receiver. Stack with 49ers and Bourne. Get Tez in. Diggs, mini stack. Too much Tampa Bay. White, Egbuka, Johnson. That's kind of the point of this roster, though. It's to just stack up that whole situation. McCaffrey and Tongs. I still think that's pretty solid. I think my question is Tet and Dowdle. Because we could probably pay up for some more leverage and not play Tet. He's 6K. We could probably pay up for we could get a Devontae Adams now at like no ownership with this wind, which I think is kind of interesting. So something like this. 2,400, that's enough for our defense we were looking at. I think that's kind of interesting. Pickens at 68. Would we rather just do that? 6,800 for Pickens. He's been great. I mean, the targets were down a little bit last week, which is kind of scary, but playing against Sauce, I think that makes sense. Rico Dowdle and Pickens together, I think is somewhat interesting. And if Pickens is going to be lower owned than Ted, I think that's kind of the pivot that makes the most sense. And then that gets us in a better range for the cheap defense, right? Because then we can just play. We can't play Browns. We just missed out on Browns. That's a bummer. We just missed out on Tennessee. I think Miami defense is the least interesting at 22. I actually think Miami could play well in this game, especially if like the Chargers can't run the ball at all. So I think that would probably be my preference at the lowest end of defense. What do you guys think of this? Thoughts? I think this gives us enough differentiation with like the Pickens Dowdle. And then we just basically, the big bet here is Baker and this Tampa Bay San Francisco game going off, which I think is totally fine. 47-point total, so just below the top tier. Seattle and Jacksonville, Dallas and Carolina a little bit higher. But I think this combination together will be somewhat unique. I like it. All right, guys, appreciate you being with us. As always, make sure you hit subscribe. Come hang out with us next Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We are going to do a start-sit show in about 10 minutes. I'm going to turn the stream on. I guess there's a link in the description for that. Let's flood the chat with that link if you guys don't have it. Come hang out with us over there. I'm going to start the other stream, and then we can get some start-sits going, all that good stuff. And then let's see. That should be the right link. Yes, it is. All right, I will see you guys over there if you want to talk through some rest of the season, start sit stuff. That's the link in the chat right now. And best of luck in week 6. We'll talk soon. Peace.